What was your interest in moving away from the traditional CV-based hiring?
The traditional way is not perfect. There has done a lot of research about it, and the research shows there is bias. It's not a good predictor.
Ooh.
Willem Wiersma, a human resource expert with 7 years of experience at the municipality of Rotterdam.
Shares his insights on long-standing HR bias and their solutions through modern approaches.
If you're only looking at working experience as a predictor for success for people who apply for a job, it's not reliable. Yeah. When we looked at the top 5 of the traditional ones, the top 3 was really different than the top 3 in the BrainsFirst way. Samir was the candidate who scored 100%.
He wasn't in the top 5?
No, he wasn't in the top 5. No.
Okay.
We decided, we have to invite him.
It's almost like surreal.
There was no doubt about it. Samir was the candidate who scored the best, who was not the best candidate from a resume. So it was not just a match for maybe a month or a year or 2 years, but it was a success story 6 years ago when we started. It still is, because he still worked with us, and he's just a really good colleague.
Wow, this is also like, okay, I'm getting like a little bit emotional on the podcast for the first time.
Yeah.
What if we told you that traditional CVs and cover letters barely scratch the surface of someone's potential, and that they don't give a true or good indicator of whether a certain job or role will actually fit a candidate? Welcome to the Neurolympics podcast, brought to you by BrainsFirst, the company that helps you make better talent decisions powered by neuroscience. I'm Lucy, I'm the host of the Neurolympics podcast, and I myself have a background in psychology and applied neuroscience. In today's episode, we're going to dive into how the municipality of Rotterdam is slowly moving away from the limitations of paper qualifications and utilizing brain-based insights as a powerful piece of the talent management puzzle. It's not about looking at a resume. It's really about uncovering deeper insights of a candidate's cognitive strengths and how they match certain roles or align with certain roles in order to make smarter and more objective hiring decisions. How did this innovative approach come about, and what results has it delivered yet? Well, let's dive into the partnership of the municipality of Rotterdam and BrainsFirst and how together they're slowly reshaping the future of talent management. Well, let's turn to our guest today, Willem Wiersma from the Gemeente, how we say in Dutch.
Yeah, it's the Gemeente. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Gemeente Rotterdam. I'm practicing.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to have you here. You are a true expert in the HR field. You have a background in human resource management, many years of experience. You have worked for 7 years, I think, at the Gemeente Rotterdam as a strategic advisor for recruitment, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, thank you, Willem, for coming on the podcast. Absolute pleasure. And you know that you're a very special guest for us, right? You're our first external guest on the Neurolympics.
I know. Yeah, podcast. So it's a special feeling for me.
Yeah, it's a little celebration moment. Yeah. Also the first podcast for you, right?
That's right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And with your background, you have had to make a lot of talent decisions in the past. So I'm really excited to hear your expertise of how utilizing the brain-based insights has influenced your day-to-day business.
Yes, it definitely has. So I'm looking forward to talk about it.
Yeah, nice. Really exciting. So on the Neurolympics podcast, we like to start with a little warm-up to get the brain cells going.
Yeah.
So I've prepared a few statements that I would like you to finish just intuitively with like one or a few words.
All right, I will do.
Yeah, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. One job I would like to try for a day is.
All right, this was a hard choice, but a professional soccer player for my favorite club. It's from Rotterdam, not from this place. It's Feyenoord, and I would really like to play just one game in the home stadium. That would be great.
Okay, and what position?
A striker.
A striker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can score a goal, and then I can celebrate it.
Yeah, and then you're the star.
That would really be great. Yeah.
Nice. Then the second statement. What was your proudest moment at the Gemeente Rotterdam?
Yes, this is a hard one, but I think the proudest moment, there has been a few very proud moments, and I think the moments they contain something that when we did something really new. For example, introducing BrainsFirst, but also launching our career site for internal and external candidates. That was something really new. So I think if I may mention two things, these are the two things I think I'm the most proud of. Yeah.
Very nice. And then one or like the best piece of advice you have ever received about recruitment?
Yes. All right. The best advice I ever had was from a trainer. And she told me, if you are losing sight of the impact you have in recruitment for candidates and for our organization, but especially for candidates, then you have to quit and look for another job. And that's something that I still really embrace that I really try to embrace in my daily work.
Awesome.
Because our impact is very big for companies, but also for candidates when we hire them, but also when we reject them. So, and we're going to talk a lot about this today, but that's a really good advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that because it's sometimes can seem a bit like, I just got out of university and then you apply for many jobs, of course, and it hurts if you get a rejection, for example.
Really?
And oftentimes you don't know why. So like, especially this angle.
Those two things are, nobody likes to be rejected. That's the first thing. Second thing, when you get rejected and you don't know why, you say it yourself, it hurts. So we're going to talk about this today, but my drive is to make recruitment more human. That's one of the things I would love to do in my job, and that's what I'm also trying to do. And I think BrainsFirst is a good example to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the last one, the most underrated skill in recruitment is
curiosity. I think I think it's an important skill, because when you lose your curiosity, for example, for a candidate who applies, but also for what kind of job is somebody going to fill in, and what is attractive about the job that the candidate has to fill, but also what are the what qualities of the candidate, but also what could be possibilities to make our job better, to make for example, to make a better candidate experience. That's what I mean with curiosity.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Really nice insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the brain warmed up a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Then let's go into the conversation. I think it would be nice to start at the very beginning. So actually the partnership with BrainsFirst started as a pilot, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And how did the idea of starting a pilot program with BrainsFirst come about back in 2019?
All right. I think it was 2018. Doesn't matter. It's still in my brain somewhere. And I remember it very well because I was at a recruitment event, at a recruitment congress. And there was a football club from the Netherlands. It's not my favorite football club I just mentioned, but another football club. But they had a great story. And they told, when we attract young talents, we want to make an assessment of how good they are and how good they are going to be. So how far are they going to come? On what kind of level might they be able to play? So is it, for example, national level with the football club, or maybe international level in Champions League, or maybe the national team? And they were trying to predict, how good is this young talent? And I thought, that is something that we do every day when we are in recruitment, because when you apply for a job, we are trying to predict, are you going to match for this job? But not only for this job, do you match with the organization?
Yeah.
And we're also trying to make an assessment of, how good are you in the things you do?
Yeah.
And that was the start. That story was the start of inspiring me to think, maybe we should start a pilot with BrainsFirst because I saw a lot of similarities between the youth academy of the football club and the work we do in recruitment. So that was the start of the pilot.
Okay, you connected the dots.
I connected the dots. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then how did the pilot look like?
All right. Yeah. We thought, okay, we're gonna start close to our own team with the pilot. Really close because we wanted a recruiter for our team. And so when we had a vacancy for a recruiter, we started the process with BrainsFirst.
Yeah.
And we decided to really test it in a good way, maybe a little bit scientific even, because we had two groups. We had two selection groups.
Okay.
And we decided, okay, one group is going to look at the BrainsFirst results of the candidates that played the games.
Yeah.
And we also have another group who look more traditionally to the resume and to the motivational letter. And we're gonna ask both groups to make a top 5 of candidates.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna compare the top 5s of the both groups, and then we will see, okay, is there a lot of difference between the groups, or is it exactly the same? Just to see, okay, when we look at the brain of a candidate, and the things we find important that a candidate has to do, the qualities the candidate has to have. When we look at the score of that, is it different than when we just look at the working experience and the education?
Yeah. And
and it was really amazing, because when we looked at the top 5 of the traditional ones, the top 3 was really different than the top 3 in the BrainsFirst way.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was very interesting. We had a candidate who scored a perfect score, but he
100.
He scored 100%. I think he was not in the top 5 of the traditional selection. So that was very interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
He
wasn't in the top 5.
No, he wasn't in the top 5. No.
Okay.
When we started the pilot, we said, okay, we're gonna talk to a mix of candidates.
Yeah.
We're gonna invite people who score very high on the BrainsFirst assessment game.
Yeah.
And we're also gonna invite people who have a very high score on the traditional selection.
Yeah.
And we're gonna mix that. So also to see, okay, what are people in real life when we meet them. And the outcome of the pilot was that eventually we hired the person who scored the perfect score, because he was the best candidate.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a very cool start of the pilot. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I think, for us it was it was a game changer.
Yeah.
In how we looked at traditional selection, but also in the difference of using BrainsFirst.
Yeah.
And what kind of results we found when we started the pilot. Yeah.
Well, that really sounds like an amazing pilot.
Yeah, that was. Yes, it was. Yeah.
That's really cool. And in case you're tuning in for the first time, and we're going to touch upon what exactly it looks like, the brain-based insights. But what we mean with the 100% or like a perfect score is that the desired brain profile you would like to see for a certain role really match the candidate's brain profile. And that's really cool.
That's it.
And what was, why did you want to move away, or what was your interest in moving away from the traditional CV-based hiring, and also to look at a more objective insight into talent, let's say?
Yeah, all right. In your question, there are already some answers, because there were several. Doesn't matter.
Sorry for the leading question.
No. It doesn't matter. You're right. So there were several reasons we wanted to do a pilot with a different kind of selection.
Yeah.
First of all, was to make a more objective assessment of candidates.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons for that was there was a very big research has been done. I think it was also about 2018. And the outcome of the research was, okay, if you're only looking at working experience as a predictor for success for people who apply for a job, it's not reliable. So we knew that. But we also knew, okay, when people apply, there's also bias in the process. Because when we look at a resume, we already have some bias when we are just looking at a photo or maybe a name or maybe the company names where people have worked for.
Yeah.
So, and we said, okay, we know that it's proven. We know that working experience is not a very good predictor of success in a new role.
Yeah.
So those two things combined were the reason or a reason to start with the BrainsFirst. Another reason is, okay, the labor market is very challenging.
Yeah.
And especially when you are looking in a very traditional way to the labor market or at the labor market, and you're only looking for experience and specialized knowledge, which is normal when you look in a traditional way. The labor market is very challenging when you look at the labor market at it that way, because everybody is looking in this way to the labor market, and also the groups that are available are very, very small.
Yeah.
So you understand? So we wanted to look wider and maybe look at other things and not at the things we always look for, because that's very challenging.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also maybe from the perspective of someone looking for the jobs that could fit to someone. Yeah. It's also really hard because I think also it's nowadays you want to make your CV look nice. Sometimes you go for experiences not because you want to do them, but because it's going to look good on the CV or something. Right. So that in a sense is manipulative, I think, in itself, because you're trying to shape your CV or your motivation letter to make it sound like it fits the role, right? Yeah, that's right. But you're not really looking for, okay, can I express myself of who I am, but more like how can I sound good in the ears of the employer, I think.
Yeah.
So
that happens a lot, because when you know how to play that game, you have an advantage. But the question is, okay, are you going to fulfill a role that really suits you?
Yeah.
And also the question is, okay, does the company find a candidate who really suits for the role? So I think it's for the company as well, for the candidate, it's in their interest to maybe change the game.
Yeah.
And to to change some things or add some things in the process that is more reliable than the things we've just mentioned.
Yeah. And were there some initial challenges or hesitations when you started to look at these cognitive insights in recruitment?
Yeah. There still are after 7 years or 6 years.
Yeah.
But especially in the beginning.
Doesn't go away.
Yeah. Okay. In the beginning, you have some excitement. Okay, this is cool. And how does it work? And okay, but then you move on and you're starting to use it for other jobs. And one of the things we always, what always is a challenge is, okay, this is an assessment game, but is it really serious?
Because it's a game.
Yeah, it's a game.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know BrainsFirst or don't know the games, it's really like a game. I always compare it to Tetris or and maybe the older arcade games. Okay, I'm sounding a little bit old right now, but it really looks like a game. So there are always questions about, okay, how serious is this? And is this really, and I think it's a good question, because we have to take it seriously, because it's about people, it's about jobs. But that was one of the challenges. So
I see.
And what we did, okay, BrainsFirst has a lot of scientific research, and it's also documented. So you can show it to people who have questions or hesitate.
Yeah.
And it helps. But also, you need to start a conversation, not only on BrainsFirst, but you also need to be, okay, people have serious questions, but we also need to have serious questions about the way we do recruitment in a traditional way. So that's another part of the conversation. Yeah, of course we can discuss BrainsFirst and how reliable it is, but we also have to how do I say it? Recognize, I think, that the traditional way is not perfect.
Yeah.
There's done a lot of research about it.
Yeah.
And the research shows there is bias. It's not a good predictor. So we have to acknowledge that to have a starting point for when we start looking at other things like BrainsFirst. So I think that's an important thing when you start implementing things like BrainsFirst.
That's true.
Then you have to discuss this. Yeah.
definitely. And then the success stories, like you mentioned with the pilot, of course,
that helps.
As a like positive outcome. That you really see, okay, it made a difference, and that was a really good match in the end.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, what is the biggest challenge in finding the right talent today?
The biggest challenge, I think, is that the world is developing very fast.
Mm-hmm.
So a job that is a job today can be very different tomorrow. I think that's a challenge. So we know what we were looking for last year, but when we look at the job that it is today, I think it's changing pretty fast. So I think that's one of the big challenges that companies has to face when it comes to identifying talent.
Yeah.
But also how are we going to translate it to our recruitment process?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges, and also there's a shortage in many target groups. But I think this is a very important thing.
Yeah. I like this. I think it's also reflected in when you apply to a job that sometimes you have this large list of criteria of what you should bring on the table. Yeah. And then I'm like confused because it covers almost like everything. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can match all of this, but it fits to what you say.
Yeah.
A lot of flexible roles where you might want to do this and this and this, and it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, I think there's also another reason behind the large list of demands.
Yeah.
Because when I talk with hiring managers and they have a vacancy, a lot of vacancy processes, they are under high pressure. We really need somebody fast. Sometimes we skip the step to really discuss very well, what do you need and why do you need it?
Which is so crucial.
It's very crucial. But when we don't do that well, what you see many times, and you have seen it yourself, is we are taking the vacancy text from the last vacancy, and then we didn't discuss it also. So we made a very long list of demands, and now we're going to use it again, because then the chances are good to find a candidate that matches all the demands. Do you understand? Because we didn't get clear what we really need, and then we just make a high list, and then we think, this if we have it, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get into the loophole.
Yeah.
Because no candidate will probably match all of this.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
But let's move on to the solution to the problem case, or how utilizing the brain-based insights and playing the Neurolympics really looks like.
Yeah.
And I think before we address two really concrete examples to make it practical and really understandable, maybe I lay a little bit of a foundation of what exactly it looks like playing the Neurolympics.
Good.
We just touched upon this, or Jan Willem just touched upon it. You play the Neurolympics, and it's in principle 4 different games. It's an entire game, but we measure around 17,000 data points with it, and they end up, or we summarize them as 6 core natural skills. So you get a brain profile of how you attend to the world. Are you more taking in all the information of your surroundings, or do you have more of a narrow focus? What kind of thinker are you, more thorough or more intuitive? How do you make decisions? So a lot of different psychological aspects we look at, and then you get this profile. And we have looked in the past at ONET and ESCO, which are really big databases of job databases or profiles.
Yeah.
And for each of the jobs on these websites, we have established a standardized brain profile with a lot of, not magic, but neuroscience and data science in the background of our founders. So in the end, when you would come to us, for example, with the role of, hey, we have a new job opening as a recruiter, we can give you this is the standardized brain profile, as you touched upon earlier, of what a recruiter should bring on the table in terms of cognitive strengths and abilities to match that role. So matching means to perform well in the role later, but also to really do the abilities of someone match the specific position. And then we also customize it a bit, because maybe the role of a recruiter looks different at Gemeente Rotterdam than at somewhere else.
Yeah.
And this is kind of how we come up with this desired brain profile, where you also earlier mentioned a candidate had a 100 top score. So you get, you let your candidates play the games, and then you get a score, and the closer it gets to 100, the greater the match. Right? That's the underlying science, how it works. In a world full of opportunities, do you struggle to know which studies, jobs, or work contexts truly fit you? Or have you maybe lost your trust and belief that you are truly good at something? We're here to help you. We invite you to play our in-house developed Neurolympics cognitive games that reveal how your brain works, including your cognitive strengths and talents, and also the challenges that your brain faces. Our games are based on years of neuroscientific research and more than 400,000 data points. And it's for free. Yes, you can play for free, but be quick, because we're only handing out a limited amount of tests. What will you get after playing? Your unique brain profile, tailored advice on what your brain needs to perform at its best, insights on how you can boost your productivity, reduce stress, and work healthier, and also confidence in your career and the next steps to take. All you have to do is head over to www.brainsfirst.com/playthegame. You can also find the link now in our description or on the screen displayed if you're watching the video. And let's get started. Fill in the form, leave your email address, and we will get back to you with the link to play. Your brain excels at something. Discover today what it is. But let's turn to examples. And I think we start with a recent position that you had offered as a camera operator.
Yeah, that's right.
How does looking at taking the brain perspective, looking at a camera operator role, change really how you identify the suitability of a candidate?
Yes, all right. I think this is a very good example of a job when we have to recruit for it. There's not a specific candidate who matches this profile. So I will explain it a little bit more. There are not many candidates who have experience as a camera operator. So this is a very small group of people, and we will not be able to find them because the group is too small. So then we have to identify, okay, what kind of skills do people need who do this job? And then we want to have insights of the qualities of the candidates who apply, if they have the qualities to fulfill the position. And a resume doesn't tell us that. So we need something else. And then there's BrainsFirst. And we use it for several vacancies for this position. For example, okay, you are sitting in a room looking at pretty many cameras. So one thing that is important is that you need to focus. You have to be able to concentrate and to look, okay, what is happening here? And that's one of the brain skills that we're looking for, are looking for. Another thing is you need to, when you see there's something happening that is not good, then you have to act pretty quickly. You cannot think, okay, what I'm gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna take 5 minutes, and then maybe we will just do this or that. So you have to act quickly. So that's another brain skill we were looking for. And I think the third one is, okay, when you have to think fast, you have to focus, and you have to act quickly. So that are three things. So that was the brain profile. And that's very interesting because when we just look at resumes, we don't know. We have to talk to people, and then still it's a little bit guessing. Okay, are they going to able to perform in this job? So the brain profile really helps to get more insights. Okay, they have the qualities. And then we are going to talk about them, about the job, about the team, but also other requirements that are important for the job. But then we know, okay, the core of the job matches with their brain skills. So that's a very interesting starting point. And you have much more information than when you compare it to the more traditional way, because then you only have a resume and you don't know anything else about the candidates.
And this is super interesting. I think what you also mentioned with when you have a conversation with a person, I think it's sometimes not only that the person that you cannot trust maybe what the person's saying because you want to always look good, right? You would always say, yeah, of course, I'm good at this to match the role. But I think that I experienced it myself, and I think it's quite striking because, I mean, I studied psychology and neuroscience, but even playing the Neurolympics, I had insights of like wow effects of, I didn't know that about myself. Because some things are just not intuitive, and I think oftentimes we don't know ourselves. Am I more of a thorough or intuitive thinker? Like, how would I sometimes know? And I think this is also what we hear from people playing the Neurolympics. It gives yourself a lot of insight.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think, just as another perspective as well, from coming from the candidate, that often you don't know, do I really match that role?
That's right. Yeah, and I think that's because BrainsFirst is pretty unique. I don't know any other. I know a lot of companies who have assessments or can offer assessments. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they are not good. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think BrainsFirst is a really different instrument when you compare it to other instruments because it's really looking at your brain. And that's why I think most people are surprised or they get new insights when they play the Neurolympics. Because we have never done this before. It's really a new instrument and a new way of looking at, your brains and how you can use them in a job that really is a match for you.
Yeah, nice. Let's move to the second example. I think you wanted to look at a role of a recruiter, right?
Yeah. We've already talked a little bit about it. Yeah. This was the first role we had, and we had some very specific things that we wanted the recruiter to match with, the recruiter we were looking for. Yeah. And I think one of the things I've just mentioned, the world is changing very fast. Our work is changing very fast. Yeah. So we were looking for a recruiter who was open to new things, but also could keep up with things coming that we didn't see coming. So I think that anticipate. Yeah, that's the word for it. Because when we work in recruitment, we know some things we have to do, but there are also coming new projects, new questions from hiring managers, new vacancies. So we wanted this person, the recruiter, to prioritize things that are coming his way. But we also wanted to, or her way, that at that moment we didn't make a choice yet. Another thing is we wanted a person who could, in this kind of dynamic environment, we also need somebody who can focus because otherwise you are only running around and doing this and doing that and just a little bit and nothing really happens in the end. So we wanted somebody who can focus and who can really work on a project and just do it until there's something else and he needs to anticipate and just prioritize again. So that was another thing that was very important. And I think these are the most important things. You have to be able to be pragmatic. So not to your, this is a difficult word for me, but it's not, you don't have a lot of time to think about the choices you make. So you have to be a little bit pragmatic when it comes to, this is the problem. This is the way I'm going to handle it. I think that also matches a little bit with the culture of Rotterdam. It's we have a saying, it's no words but deeds, and that's what kind of we are looking for in the profile of the recruiter. That you really act when it is needed.
Okay, nice. And I think this is a good moment to address actually a very nice case story or success story of Samir
Hadoush.
Samir Hadoush. Yeah. And Samir, at this point, I want to, turn to the camera again and say thank you for giving us permission to tell your story here on the podcast and to also dive a little bit into your brain profile. I think, you have a very powerful story to tell, and I'm excited to address it now with Jan Willem. Yeah. So can you give us a little bit of a background of Samir and how he became a candidate?
Yeah, all right, okay. To be clear, Samir was the candidate who scored 100% or 100 score. So we can throw it out in the open right now. Okay.
Nice.
And Samir was not in the top 5 of the candidates who, when we looked at the resumes for the position of recruiter in a traditional way, because he was not matching the working experience level that we were looking for. So there were some doubts about his CV, but then he scored very high. So
wow.
We decided, okay, this guy is scoring the perfect score, so we have to invite him.
Yeah.
It's
almost like surreal.
Yeah, this can't be true. And here comes curiosity, where I talked about before. Okay, I was really curious about, okay, how is Samir in real life? And when we talk about it, when we talk with him. Okay, and we had different talks with several candidates, but Samir just stood out because he really matched the context I've just described, what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So the conversation we had was a confirmation of the things we saw in the report and in the score. There was no doubt about it. So Samir was the candidate who scored the best.
Yeah.
Who was not the best candidate from a resume point.
Yeah.
But he scored the best, and he is still working with us. So it was not just a match for maybe a month or a year or 2 years, but he's still working with us. He also developed himself. He's working in another position at the moment.
Yeah.
Management development advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a success story 6 years ago when we started, but it still is, because he still works with us, and he's just a really good colleague.
Wow, this is also like okay, I'm getting like a little bit emotional on the podcast for the first time. Didn't expect this coming up, but I think this is just so striking, because I just want to like emphasize this again. How would have been overlooked if you would have just looked at his CV,
right?
That's
right. Yeah.
And just thinking about this, like how often does this happen in the world out there, that you maybe have the perfect candidate for you laying on the table here on the CV, but you just disregard him because he doesn't match the experience, for example.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think this is just
right.
really super, super cool. And were there, like, I can imagine still, like, in the beginning, hesitations or like maybe doubts when you hired him, or how did you feel then actually hiring Samir? Were you like confident, or were you still like, well, what's going to happen?
No, I was pretty confident, because we had 2 pretty good conversations. We had a very high score of 100%, and the conversations we had, there was a lot of confirmation what I've read about Samir in the reports.
Yeah.
And it was not that he had a bad resume, not at all, but based on the resume, there were doubts about, is he going to be a match? But based on his brain profile, based on the report we had from Samir, I think most hesitations were already gone. But then, you still have to prove it in a conversation.
That's true. Yeah.
So when he started, I don't think there were many hesitations. I think I was very curious. When he starts, how will it fit in the office when he's there? How will it fit when you have to go to hiring managers? But as soon as he started, I thought, this is going to work. Not just a very good colleague, but also a very nice colleague. That's also important. So
definitely the chemistry.
The chemistry was good. So it still is. And so there were not many hesitations. No, he proved himself in a very short time.
That's important to say, that you also had the conversations next to playing the games.
Of course. Because
that's not eliminated.
No.
Okay, and what do you think from a candidate's perspective? How does the BrainsFirst approach make a difference in a maybe success story, but also, as we said earlier, when you're rejected?
Yeah, all right. Okay. As I said before, nobody likes to be rejected. Me neither. And
hate it.
No, it's not a nice feeling. We do research with internal candidates, and we ask them how they evaluate our internal recruitment process. And where they like it, but also where they dislike it. Most of the candidates, they don't like it to be rejected. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But what they especially dislike is when they don't get good feedback on the rejection.
Yeah.
So
you want to know why.
Yeah, you want to know why.
Yeah.
And I think here's the solution of BrainsFirst is filling the gap when it comes to not having good information about why you were rejected.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good advantage, because when you apply for a job, you have to play a game. You always get feedback because you always get a report, right?
That's true.
So you already have information about yourself that you didn't have before you applied. So I think that's very interesting. You can see it as a gift. True. Then when you are rejected, we can give you more detailed information and more, I think, good information about why it didn't work. And okay, the reality is not all the candidates are happy then. That's also true, because sometimes they disagree, or sometimes they say, okay, but can we not try it? Although I have a bad score. But then you have something that is, you have something to talk about. It's not just a feeling, or maybe it's not just a resume. And I think what we get back from candidates is that they really appreciate that.
Yeah. For sure. Maybe I can take a short moment to tell from my personal experience,
of course.
Because I was applying for a job, and I had to go through a lot of different processes, and I made it to the last round actually, and then I got rejected, and I had a really nice feedback talk. It was really nice, but it wasn't satisfying for me, because in the end it was like, just like we cannot 100% say what it was, but in the last conversation there was just a tiny bit missing. And then you really think, okay, what could I have said differently? What was really the reason? What could I have done differently? You know. And I think from that perspective, I still have it in the back of my mind, and a hard time of letting it go. When you actually know, and that, as you say, it might not be pleasant in that moment. Okay, you're not a very good match. Okay, it might still hurt, but in the end, I think then you have the security. I might have not been happy in that job later, or I might have not performed well. And then this is such a good insight for yourself that maybe you do want to move on to another role
that's right.
yourself.
And I think that's a very important thing, because okay, when you get rejected and you know why you are rejected and you know what your brain skills are, you can use that information for your next step. When we don't do that, when we just say, okay, you don't match, and we're not really telling you why you don't match, or we're just saying, okay, there are better candidates, then you cannot learn anything from it. What happens to you when that happens, it doesn't help you to make a next step. Because it's a disappointment and you feel rejected, but you don't know why. So the next time you see a job where you want to apply, you are, the last experience doesn't help to get that step.
No, that's so true.
So, and especially when it happens 2 or 3 times, it's not good for your moral. So I think that, and this is not just from the candidate's perspective, but also from the employer perspective. And that's why I'm also talking about impact. We have to understand what kind of impact we make when we reject someone, especially when we do it 2 or 3 times, but we don't tell people why. And for employers, I think this is a very important thing, because when we take them seriously and they take their feelings seriously and their ambitions, then we can help them to also to maybe next time to apply for a job that matches their skills, but also to decide, okay, this one I'm not going to apply. And when you do you understand? So and when we take them seriously, it's far more better for, I think, the moral and also for the productivity of the people. They really want to work for you. Why? Because you see them and you have taken them seriously. And it's not just words. It's not just that you say, okay, we are finding it very important that you can grow. But you also you also go to deeds, and this, I think this is a good example of using an instrument to help people, but also help your own organization, because I think it's a win-win if you do that in a good way.
100%. Thank you for sharing all of this.
All right,
so cool. Is there, maybe we can briefly touch upon if you see other use cases of Brain Insights or the Neurolympics besides recruitment?
I've just mentioned the camera operator. but we have done it for many very different functions. Maybe I can mention another recent example is we have a customer service job or vacancy.
Yeah.
And I think there are similarities with the camera operator job, because the information on the resume, it's not a good predictor for, okay, is this person going to be a good customer service colleague? I don't know. When I look at the resume, I cannot make an assessment. Okay, how friendly is this person? How client oriented is this person? I've had feedback from the hiring manager, and he said, okay, this instrument really helps me to make a better assessment, but also to when I'm going to have a dialogue with the candidate, I have much more better information to talk about, because they play the games, we have the outcome of the game, and then we can ask them questions. Okay, we see this in your profile. How do you see it yourself, or how do you handle certain situations?
Yeah.
So it helps to make a better pre-selection, but it also helps to make a better selection when it comes to really come to the core of a job and the core of a person.
Yeah.
And see, okay, is this really a match or is it not?
Yeah.
And I know he's pretty enthusiastic because he sees other results than when he did it in the traditional way. Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, that's really super cool.
And before we turn to the end of our conversation, are there any more key learnings you had over the past years that you would like to share, some advice?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yes, because when I think about the audience who are listening to this podcast, maybe they're thinking, okay, but this is going to take a lot of time. I have to invest a lot of more time than I do now, for example. Okay, one of the key learnings is, okay, you have to invest a little bit more time.
Yeah.
For example, to make a profile like a recruiter or a customer service agent, or maybe a camera operator. Yes, you have to invest maybe an hour, maybe one and a half. But then you really have something to work with. And so that's I think, a key lesson is, okay, maybe you have to take a little bit more time and to invest it, but then you get a better process for your organization and your candidates.
Yeah.
So that I think that's a key lesson.
Yeah.
Another key lesson is when you are a recruiter and you're hearing this and you think, okay, this is what I want in my recruitment process, you have to find how do I say it? Ambassadors.
Yeah.
And I would say try to find ambassadors, not just recruiters, but also people on strategic level. Because when we started with BrainsFirst in 2018, we had a director who was very open to this kind of pilots, to this kind of to this way of selecting people.
Yeah.
He said, okay,
Very
we need to be more unbiased in our recruitment, for example. So it helps to when things are getting a little bit tough, when people are having too many hesitations or saying, okay, I don't want to play games, or and I'm not talking about candidates, but internally people are maybe they don't want to cooperate.
Yeah.
Then it helps when you have somebody who says, yeah, but we really believe in it, and it also helps us to reach our goals.
Yeah, who takes kind of like who leads the way.
Who leads the way, and also can say, okay, it's not just to use the instrument, it's really to help us to do things better. To maybe you want to have a more objective recruitment process, for example. If that is the goal, then you can explain, okay, and that's why we're using it. I think that's also a key lesson.
Yeah.
Please look at the goal and not just at the way how you try to reach it, but you have to have a clear goal on why you're using it and how does it help you, because that also helps when things get a little bit difficult to focus at the goal and just to continue.
Nice. So many key lessons.
Yeah. Maybe
so
too many
insights. No, it's really like I'm really honestly like blown away by everything that you're telling, because it's like so nice to hear from your own experience and from your perspective how you're really seeing differences on a daily basis. And I mean, hearing success stories like the one of Samir, super, I think, inspiring and really, really powerful. Well, no Neurolympics podcast should end without a little cool down, because we want to ease the brain cells into a resting stage, right? Just like with the warm up. So you just shared your some key learnings and some advice, but if listeners should take away that one message, what would it be?
I hope that everybody who works in recruitment understands the impact of the things we do.
Nice.
Yeah, when we look at a candidate who maybe wants to apply for a job or really does apply for a job, we have to understand that that kind of action is very high on the high impact list of things that happen in life. I think I believe it's in the top 8 or maybe of life events. And for example, there's also marriage in loss of people, but also birth of a child. But then there comes the job. So I really hope that people who work in recruitment are still able to get that clear and not to lose focus and realize, okay, what we're doing is really having a very big impact on lives of people, but also on our organization. It's on two sides, but I'm a little bit more on the side of human, of the human part. But let's be clear: if we do recruitment in a good way, and we hire slow, not too fast, then it's really good for the company also. So I believe it's win-win for the both parties. Yeah. All right, that was it.
Love it. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Willem, for sharing all of your insights and experiences. This was a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm really, as I said, blown away by everything you mentioned. This is super cool, and thank you again, Samir, also that we could hear your story, and success with everything that's coming up next for you. And I hope that you at home are inspired and are leaving us with a lot of insights, no matter if you are joining in as a recruiter or as a different role or as an individual. From all perspectives, I think we can take home something from this powerful story here. And we would love to connect with you. So we're going to put our LinkedIns in the description below. So please, you can also comment here if you're joining on our YouTube channel directly. Please leave any insights, any comments. I think it's really nice also to spark some conversations right here on the platform. And we would love to engage with you. And of course, to also see you more frequently on the Neurolympics podcast. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button from, no matter any platform you're joining into today. You can also find all of the information of our Neurolympics podcast under www.brainsfirst.com/podcast. So we're excited to see you next time. Lots of exciting things are going to come up. So stay tuned and stay happy and healthy, everyone. See you next time on the Neurolympics podcast. Ciao, ciao.